right, everybody, welcome to the Voice by Matt podcast. My name is Matt Bertho, and today we have a very special guest, Billy.
Who is it?
Nathaniel D. Lee.
Nathaniel.
That's
Lee?
me.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
So Billy, how do you know Nathaniel, or otherwise known as
Nate?
Nate.
I call him Nate.
Yes, you can call me Nate. Nathaniel's just my professional name.
Ooh, nice.
You know.
I like that.
Very nice. I know Nate.
What's your professional name, Billy?
Bill.
I
I
get-
shortened mine to make it professional.
Great.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I'm Matt, voiced by
Yeah, right. You shorten yours too.
Matt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I've known Nate since the early days. I remember Nate when you were, I don't know how old you were, but you were taking voice lessons over at Southwestern in the little practice rooms.
Yep.
And I remember coming over there and playing piano for you.
Yep.
And you were just a little tyke.
It wasn't that little. I was probably in middle school, right?
Yeah, probably middle school.
Yeah. With Carol. Not Carol.
Yeah, Carol
Kristen.
Gardner.
It was
right?
Carol.
It
Yeah.
was Carol, yeah.
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 Feels like forever ago now.
Yeah.
That
it
was that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You were
But
what?
that was like the start of everything.
You were what, 12?
I have no clue.
Your mom's awesome for getting you started early.
Well, I asked to. I saw what was the show? I saw Seussical. And I was like, Mom, I want to do that so bad. And
Whoa!
And so we found a show, and the first show I was in was The Jungle Book, the community theater production.
That's right. With Phoebe?
I have no clue.
Oh, you
Probably.
Wait.
It was all of those people.
man.
Wow.
So Billy, Seussical? You remember that show?
Who was in that? Let's see. Let me think.
Marshall was in it. That's why I wanted to do
Marshall
it.
was in it. Yeah,
Marshall.
I forgot about Marshall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And gosh, I want to say Andrea Bertha was in that.
She
too.
was.
Really?
She was Maisie.
That's so
She was
crazy.
Maisie.
Yeah.
Was it here?
Yeah. In the auditorium. And I was Horton.
And you were Horton. Yep.
I didn't think we'd
remember.
go there today.
Really?
That's wild.
You didn't know that? Yeah, that was my very first show that
No.
I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do.
Billy, did you play in that?
No. I just came and watched it.
Huh.
I'll be honest though with you guys. I left the intermission.
Billy! Boy, I am
We
so
didn't
glad
have the
this
same
is on the
experience.
podcast.
We didn't have the same experience, I guess.
you
Man.
guys, no, it was great. But you know.
So, Nate
Mhm.
was one of the most amazing students at Winfield High School.
Yeah.
He worked so hard. He very naturally talented in everything,
Mhm.
acting, singing, and dance.
I agree.
One of the first numbers that we kind of threw him into the fire was Book of Mormon, Hello. We tried to do that song for Vikings on Broadway.
Oh, really?
And he was one of the originals in that group. And if you think about like who was
Really?
in that group, that was some really amazing people
Yeah.
for us to even try to pull that off.
Yeah.
But Nate, this is voiced by Matt. So how did you find your voice? Like what made you continue?
After that moment?
Well, yeah, after your moment, taking voice lessons at Southwestern with Carol, and, obviously you came to the choir program
Yeah.
your freshman year, and then,
Well, I feel like I've had multiple stages and multiple like parts in my life that I've grown with my voice. So I don't know if there's a pinpoint moment where I can like target on. But like even just taking voice lessons, that was a step. 'Cause like I wasn't somebody that would audition for like solos and stuff in choir until I started taking voice lessons.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I totally remember that guy. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to audition for that.
Yeah.
And I was always like, man, why are we doing this then? So Nate, talk about a little bit about your kind of life growing up, and then your mom and how influential she was in your life, and then talk about like, maybe like where you went to school, And then we can kind of go from there and get up to date with where you're at now.
Yeah. Well, growing up, I don't know, it's kind of a blur. I kind of live in the present and the future. I don't really dwell a lot on the past, but I dwell a lot on the future, trying to get it back into the present a lot of times. But yeah, I feel like I had a good enough childhood growing up. I always loved Winfield. Like as a kid, one of the things I wanted to do, like when I was figuring out careers, was be a mayor of Winfield.
The mayor of Winfield?
Yeah, that was like one of my career options at one point in my life.
I'm so glad we brought this up. I've never heard this story.
Really?
No.
Yeah, so like I always liked Winfield growing up. I always would tell my mom like it's such a perfect family town. Like cuz like it just felt safe.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate.
I don't think I would say the same now. I definitely would not raise a family here. Just because, like, coming back now, I
Billy's
just feel
like, yeah, and then
disconnected.
No. I stand corrected. Yep.
I mean, you can have your opinion, and I can have mine. But yeah, and then obviously just go through the ranks of school, just like everybody else here. It was a small town, so everybody kind of had the same life, I feel like. But middle school was like when I first got into like singing and performing and all of that stuff, doing like the shows outside of school. And then when I was going into high school, that's when I like first kind of was introduced to you. I remember like the shows or like the regional solos we had right before I graduated from middle school and came here. You like came up to me and you were like, hey, can you help me like get people like into the choir program? And I was like, I didn't know that I had any sort of influence over people, so I was like, sure, I'll try. But like I was like, I don't know who's gonna join just because I'm like, hey, you should join. But like I think that was also just one of the things that I had like growing up. Like I've never been like the cocky, confident type of person. And as a kid growing up, that was more so just like shy and like very humble to the point of like not showing my assets at all.
Yeah.
And so like I didn't think I had like any like I guess like influence or power over anybody to like join.
Well, growing up in a small town, any small town, you know, what rules usually are sports and so for a guy that loves singing and acting and dancing and music, like we all do in this room, it kind of gets pushed to the wayside of sports. And, you know, I remember working with you freshman year, and it goes back to what you said about, not wanting to go for auditions for solos. And I just kept, go, Nate, keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for people to hear like that it was a struggle for you in the beginning to kind of find your way.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't equate it to a struggle. It was just a lack of confidence. And I think like finding my voice obviously has like made me more confident in areas. And that was one of the things. Like I liked singing, but I didn't have any training. And so in my mind, that meant don't audition. You'll embarrass yourself.
And what would you say like because we're going to have some high school students probably listen to this podcast. Like what would you say to them about the embarrassment, about being uncertain about your voice? Like what kind of or even anybody out there that's listening that wants to sing, that wants to speak in front of people, like what advice would you give them?
Well, this is what I'll say now, because I think singing for anybody is a very therapeutic thing to do, whether you're good at it or not. And so if you want to sing, please sing, because I promise you'll feel better afterwards.
I love that.
Even if you don't sound great. But like if I'm talking to somebody that's specifically wanting to audition and like get into choir programs and stuff like that, like if you're not confident now with your voice, I guess the only thing that I would say is like practice more, do it more, get into rooms where you can perform in front of people, because that's really, I think, the biggest step for a lot of people is that they're not comfortable and confident to like do it in front of others.
Yeah. And that we see that every year, don't we, Billy?
Oh yeah, that's very common.
That first week of school for the young freshmen that are brand new to the program, it's kind of a shell shocked. Oh my gosh, what did I get into?
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, this year we're going to try to be a little bit more ease into it. We're going to ease into that process.
That's different.
Well, yeah, I've told my leaders in the program to hold me accountable for like the first 2 weeks to just, go a little slower so that we keep attention, so we keep retention of students in the program. So Nate, and then obviously you kicked booty at Winfield High School.
Yeah.
You got some awesome roles, you got some awesome solos, and then you ended up where?
So I went to school at Millikan University. It's a small liberal arts school in Decatur, Illinois, which is central Illinois, about 3.5 hours from Chicago and St. Louis. Those are like the big places next to it.
And you went to school for?
Oh, music theater.
And what was that experience like? We kind of talked about it today a little bit before the podcast.
Yeah. I think it was really just like a cycle of high school, but just bigger ranks.
Huh.
It was like you're still going. I went in not knowing anybody because it was a school that I didn't know. Nobody before me had gone to. And so it's really just like I started from a blank slate. I didn't have any knowledge of what I was going to be learning. I couldn't go in and I think the issue with a lot of people in college is that they'll go in with their like high school mentality that they're hot shit or whatever.
Oh,
Can I
yeah,
say
for
that?
sure. Well, I mean, it's already there, so
Great.
keep going.
But can I say more or should I like not?
Yeah, go.
Okay. I don't know. So I went in humble, and I think that did me well.
Yeah.
But also I knew that there was a lot that I had to learn. And it was the same thing. I went in, stuck to myself, and then later, like once I was a senior, I had my stuff together. I knew what I had to do in order to get the grade, to get the assignment done, to do the work. But that's not something I knew at the start.
And one thing I want to say about Nate for everybody is that Nate knows how to work. Nate was with me before he went to college at the CrossFit gym doing incredibly difficult workouts, trying to better himself every single day. In fact, we're going to work out this week because it's a habit now for us.
Yeah.
Nate has also completed the 75 Hard program
Twice.
Oh.
Nate's work ethic has always been humble, but I'm going to work. I'm going to figure this out. And I, as a coach and as a teacher, I just want to say, like, that's what separates you from everybody else is that you keep doing the work. You do the unrequired hard work that nobody wants to do, and you're consistent.
Yeah.
It's not just, I'm going to try this out for a second. It's, you know what? I've seen people have these results, or like you said, you just kind of jump into the unknown. Like he went to a school that no one from Winfield High School had ever been to. And, that's kind of how he's approached everything, even in his training and dance.
Yeah.
He,
He's very, I don't know if can I say this?
Yeah.
He's very ballsy. Like, Nate is very courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does it with grace and humbleness, and he's okay. He's okay to fail.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I love is that when Nate does fail, he learns from it.
Yeah. I will say this though. I don't see myself as courageous only because I go into everything with a plan.
Okay.
And so I suss out like whether something is going to be dangerous or
Okay.
maybe not in my best benefit before doing it. I will take the risk if I feel like there is some sort of benefit that can come out of it. But I won't do that for everything.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
smart. You're smart about it.
Yeah.
So where did you learn that?
I don't know. I feel like that's just been something like instilled with me. Like, I mean, maybe my mom, but
Yeah.
I feel like even with me and her, there's a difference in how I approach things versus her.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Well, your work ethic and your faith that you have in yourself is admirable. Like a lot of people would hope to be able to step into their real selves the way that you have. Yeah, 24 years old, dude. Like that's why this podcast exists. That's why I teach, because you have found your voice, but you're still on the journey to find more.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that journey a little bit. Like, I think, you graduated. Let's do it. Let's do a fast track through the current job you have, not the offer, but the current job you have. So like, from you graduated Millikan, then what?
Graduated Millikan. The week before graduation, I found out that I booked a cruise line and that I got signed to an agency in Chicago.
Wow,
and so it was a really, it waited till the last minute of graduation, but when I found out, it was really awesome. So I moved to Chicago for the summer after graduation, did the cruise after that. The cruise got shut down in March because of COVID. So I came back here for, I think, a couple months before moving back to Chicago, auditioning again. But again, COVID was still happening, so it was really slow. I ended up getting a job at a pizza restaurant. I literally went into the interview and got the job there and started the next hour. I was the only person working. It was really odd. But we made it work.
Wow.
And then
there's your ballsy thing again, Billy.
Well, I just needed money. That's where I'll be ballsy. If I need money.
Yeah, it's required, yeah.
But yeah, and then I hated the job after a few months, and so I just decided to quit. I had savings built up from the cruise line, and so I was able to survive a few months like not working, and then randomly just started making YouTube videos and sharing them with my family, and then got a offer to work at a tech company.
This is the best story, Billy. Like, keep going. This is so awesome.
Yeah. So in, I think December, my uncle started asking me like, hey, like, do you have any interest in like this? And I was like, I mean, I don't say no to things, so sure, I guess.
and so this is a tech company where?
It's in California, in Northern California. And I had a few interviews with them and got the job, got an offer. And I wasn't doing anything else but sitting at home making YouTube videos. So I was like, I might as well just take this job.
And this is a significant job. This is not some
it's my first salary job. Whoa.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Salary position.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so what do you do? Just like briefly.
It's hard to explain because I feel like nobody ever gets it.
I still don't get it. That's why I'm having him explain it again.
Okay, so there's a website, yeah? Somebody has to build the website.
Okay.
So those are developers.
Okay.
Developers build websites.
Right.
But there's also other people that help that website go into place. And I think where I land is more on the design aspect. And so I'm a system tester. Before the website goes out, I test the website to make sure there's no bugs, nothing wrong with it, that the user would have to they would encounter when they're using it.
So you get on these new websites and you kind of point and click and type some things in and see if they actually work.
Yeah.
And you get paid the salary position for that.
That's awesome.
And so that kind of goes back into
That's incredible.
That kind of goes back into like how I see how things are going to work out before I take the risk. It's kind of the same thing with this job. I'm like, what could go wrong? And then I just report it to them so they can fix it.
And on the reporting, is it like you type things out or there's like a questionnaire that you fill out or do you send a video? Like, how does that work?
So no, it's literally just like this team of people that are working on this project. And, we have like a bug reporting system. I'll type in a ticket and it'll have like its own number, what the issue is, what I think the resolution would be, and then we'll like talk about it before they try to fix it.
So isn't that awesome?
It's like a great job.
It's a great job, and it gives me the opportunity to do whatever the heck I want.
Right,
yeah. And that's something that we've talked about is that this job is golden because it gives you the freedom to submit auditions, to do whatever you need to do to make it work.
Because you can probably do this from anywhere.
Exactly. I'm doing it here right now.
Okay.
So the latest events that have happened for you that are really exciting.
Yeah.
So in May, your plan was to what?
I had a full plan to move to California to continue this job that I'm working now. I was going to find a place there to stay for a couple of months before finding my own place. My lease in Chicago ended end of summer, and so I was like, I'm just gonna move there after. And then as I was planning all that, like literally the day before I needed to sign the papers for a lease that I was going to sign, I got a call back for a musical called Rent, and it was a national tour, and it's my favorite show. And so I was like, I have to go do this. I texted Berto, and I was like, what? Because I auditioned for the show like maybe a month and a half before I got this call
And I
back.
remember that conversation when you auditioned. You're like, oh, I just did this thing, and I kind of sent it in, and whatever.
I wasn't expecting anything from it because I felt really out of practice. I haven't like worked on any of that stuff in a while, and it just seemed like far-fetched for me. I was just like, I'm gonna do it because I mean, sure, it's an opportunity, but I wasn't expecting anything from it.
And I remember when I got that message from you, I had to look at it like 3 times and be like, whoa, Andrea, come look at this.
Yeah.
And then I FaceTimed you, and you were like dumbfounded. You were like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean, what do you do? Go! And so then you went back.
So yeah, I decided to do it. I went to New York to do the callback, the first round. And then a week after I did that, they contacted me and said they wanted to see me again in July. So I booked my flights, waited until July, went back, did the second callback. And they both went really well. I felt really good about them. And then the casting company actually asked me to come back again for a third time to do a whole different show, like callback for a different show. And this was, obviously I was like, this is my third time going to New York. This is a lot of money I'm shelling out. So I was like, is there any possibility for me to do this over Zoom? Like, just because like I already gave you a lot of my time and money. And they were like, yeah, that's okay. And so I ended up doing 3 Zoom callbacks in a day.
Whoa.
Like just back to back. Well, not back to back, but like just doing that for the show that I currently got an offer for. And
big news.
Only like 3 days later is when I got the offer from that show.
And the new show that he got offered is?
It's called An Officer and a Gentleman. It's an adaptation musical on the film An Officer and a Gentleman. And yeah, I'm really excited. It's a national tour. It's going to start in Las Vegas in October.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Nice.
We'll see.
And he gets to live in New York for like a month in rehearsals.
Yeah.
And this is your first big national tour, correct?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to count the cruise line, it's my first time doing a national tour, yeah.
Man, that's so exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Holy cow. Well, I'm excited to have you at this point in your life on this podcast to have this moment recorded
Documented,
forever.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these moments need to be celebrated. And that is super awesome that you had enough faith to not give up.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there were moments in that time that you felt like, is this really even worth holding on to?
Yeah. There were plenty. Even just accepting the first callback, it was like, oh my God, am I actually going to do this? Is this going to get me anywhere? And then doing the next one, I was like, okay, I'm putting in a lot of time for this. This better get me somewhere. And then just waiting, all the waiting. That's the hardest part. But you gotta.
What would you say to people that are
waiting?
waiting? Because I'm waiting on some things also right now, and I know there are a lot of people out there that do the work, and they feel hopeless. They feel like, is this ever going to happen?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, I'm gonna plug in my YouTube channel because the very first video I made was around Thanksgiving last year. and my family like sent in questions, and they had a lot of questions about theater. And I was like, well, my mind's just not on theater right now because we're waiting. I can't do anything about that. So I'm going to focus on all the other things that I have interest in. There's no reason for me to just like sit and wait. Yes, I can still practice and stuff, but I might as well try to find something else that I can benefit from. And I did I found a job.
Well, and essentially you, in that answer, were not worried about a negative outcome.
Yeah.
You were focused on the things that give you joy, that make you feel whole, that make you feel happy. I need to remember that.
We all do. Yeah.
And you know,
sure.
It's
easy to get bogged down.
Yeah.
By what might happen.
Yeah.
What might not happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know, I know for me and for my students right now, for Nate, you know, this second round of unfortunate COVID is something that we could worry about. Yeah. Right. But I think Nate is on the money with you can control what you can control in the moment every day instead of wasting a lot of energy on things that you're not in control of.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said something to me that I kind of want to end with today, which I think is very important. And I think it's a very important thing for people that find their voice, because if I find my voice and I'm around a bunch of people that have not found their voice, that is a negative atmosphere that I don't really want to be in.
Yeah.
So tell them about that second call back in New York when you told me about the energy of the room and what it was like.
At this...
Or the first one. Either one.
Well, things move so fast, I don't even remember what happened those days. I do remember telling you how after the second... Are you talking about the second one when we did the La Viva?
Yes, okay. That.
Yeah, so there was this one segment of the audition where they had all of the people come together in the dance studio, and instead of like teaching us a like combo or whatever for the dance portion, they just played one of the songs and had us just improv in like small groups. And it was...
How many people?
For the small groups, it was probably like 8 to 10 people.
8 to 10 hungry, I want this job people.
Yeah. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun like doing that. And then, but the crazy part was when they had us all just go full out, everybody on the dance floor, just go, like give us what you got. And it didn't feel like any of us were like competing to get the job. It just felt like we were all there to do what we love to do.
That's what I was going to ask. What were you like, as you're watching these people, you're like, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to get this job.
No, I mean, yes, there's a sense in my head, like in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, well, that person is my type. That person like looks like me, does the same things as me. Okay, they are probably my competition. Wow. But it's not I need to do better than them type of thing. I just need to put my best out there.
Gotcha, yeah.
Wow. So the energy times 1,000 was just so positive, so whole.
Yeah. It was the best moment ever. I was like, this is so awesome. That made me like miss theater.
Because I remember you told me, man, I hope they videoed this.
Right.
Because I want to see it. I want to feel that again.
I still want to see it. Even though I didn't end up getting cast in that show, I still want to see it.
Yeah, but the taste is what is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to leave the audience with that taste, that feeling, that hunger, because that's why Nate's still going. That's why I still go. That's why we're all still here. And everybody on this earth has a purpose, a journey. And Nate is in the beginning of his crazy adventure of his career. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Nate.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And
absolutely.
Thank you, Billy, for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And if you guys like the podcast, give us a 5-star rating and a review, and we will see you next time. Thank you, guys.